Ich muss mal kurz was sagen, damit wir uns auch alle hören und ich weiß, ob der Livestream auch wirklich funktioniert. Ja, warte, ja, funktioniert nicht. Speaker Nummer 1, ja. Okay. Is anybody following the live stream already? I mean, this is the live stream, okay, but there's also a live stream on YouTube. I tested the audio quality. Martin, do you want to take a seat or do you want to stand? Depends on you. What looks really funny is that in the first row, there's nobody sitting. Don't know if you know Loriot, this is very, very German now. So, no, what you're doing, if the first row is empty, you're taking away the chairs from the first row. Don't force me to do that. Thomas, you can go to the first row. Huh? Yes. The best spaces for the latecomers. Sometimes people running late. Okay. So it's 5 past the hour. I guess we can start now. You see my nice T-shirt? Okay. Do you want to have one? Yes. Okay. But who screams loudest will maybe get one. So I will try to speak into the microphone. I ask you to do the same in the end. If you speak very close, you can hear yourself. Yes. But on the live stream, you can even hear the audio if you're this distance. Okay. Welcome to Coding Berlin. This is chapter number 2000. I did not count. Did anyone by any chance recognize what's that image? On the large screen, you can see it, I guess. These are shopping carts. Ain't that great? So our topic today is next-gen commerce. If you want, you can also sit in the front row. Yeah, sure. Here are also 3 seats on taken. This is your chance. It's perfectly nice. Have you got something to drink? Very nice. Okay. A color, if you want. Yeah, the good thing about the live stream is, okay. Who does not want to be on video? Who hates Facebook? Sorry, YouTube. Okay, this was now an open. Because we are streaming, so I'm on TV now. People can see me, but there are not many online. And they can also see you. So don't look into this camera if you don't want to be seen. You can also wave to the camera. Say hello. Hello, Internet. The last time we do a live session. Okay. Hello. If you want, here are so many seats on taken. So, first of all, I'd like to say thank you to Front Commerce, to Spryker, and to Shopmacher for sending speakers to us. I mean, they are not really sending. I mean, you decided on your own, I guess. But yeah, thank you anyway. We hear 3 talks today by Patrick Blom. Why we decided to build our own commerce front end. I shortened the titles a little bit. I hope it's still true. Okay. By Mr. Marco Podien. Is it Podien? Oh, okay, sorry. Next Gen Headless Commerce with Spryker Commerce OS. This is also true, I guess. Then the last one is Pierre Martin. Martin. Pierre Martin, who went the long way from Toulouse to Berlin to have Vietnamese food with us and have a talk about federated headless systems and a unified GraphQL schema equals modern front ends. And if we still got time and you still want to sit here, we could have a panel discussion with all the speakers. There will be food around 7:45, if you are not that fast. Never mind, the food cannot get cold because it already is cold. This time we ordered a little bit more than last time. Who has been here last time? Not that many as always, yeah, right. But it's always mixing. It's a mixed audience. A word from Coding Berlin. We want to be a friendly and open hub for all Berlin developers. So if you're a developer, this is the place to be, at least from my point of view. Rule number 1, it must be code-centric. Everything we're doing should be code-centric because we are called Coding Berlin. Every meetup should come with a different developer-related topic. This is not true for all the other coding meetups. I don't know if you ever heard of them, but we also have Coding Stuttgart, we have Coding Leipzig, we have Coding Faro, we have Coding Portugal, and we might have Coding Düsseldorf in the very close future. There we're doing anything, but here every meetup comes with a focused developer-related topic. If you have any questions, you can ask me, or you can ask Tom, who you might have met at the entrance. So we are here for you. And if you want to talk to us, you can use our Twitter channel. You can also follow us. We need more followers. Follower power makes the world go round. Another word from Coding Berlin. If you want to talk, if you want to host this meetup, or even if you want to suggest a topic, approach me, approach Tom, approach the community, and we are absolutely happy to have you here to be at your side to talk about your company. And what I definitely would like to suggest is let's be more community. If someone of you wants to go to a hackathon and says, "Whoa, I'm so alone and I don't want to hack alone in the night," ask the people next to you. Who's going to a hackathon next month? Who has been to a hackathon last month? You are going, of course you are going. You even tweeted about it, but you're not telling it. The official Symphony hackathon's upcoming, and you're doing some stuff about API platform. Don't know what that is. So if you want to do something like that, announce in the group what you want to do and where you want to go, and maybe people join us. Hello, Tino. Take your seat. Here are still 3 untaken. Hello. I want to play a game with you. I don't know who is rather new here. Usually for all the newcomers in our meetup group, I ask a very personal question. Are you a robot or not? This is the question. Tom, just to make sure that you're a real person, please drop a more or less meaningful human line. For example, what are you interested in coding, or a Twitter profile that you control, or something that proves that you are made of flesh and blood. Sorry for that hassle, but there are a lot of spam bots flooding in currently, and your profile is a little bit empty. So I can't decide if you're a real human just by that. Who has answered that question? Two. Okay, 2 in the room. Yeah. No, I'm writing that to merely anyone. And I collected the best answers. So this guy without a name, Tobias asked me the same question. Is this human enough? Hey, Stefan, yeah, I'm a real colleague of several attendees. We are all from Portal Tech. Reply. That response could actually be created by a bot simply by scraping the current attendees. My focus is test automation. Someone in the room said, "This is an automated message clarifying I'm not a robot." Interesting. Now I've been flagged by Meetup spam filter. Hi, dear Stefan. No worries. I can totally understand. Fortunately or unfortunately, I'm not a robot. I'm not a robot. Yeah, whatever. Okay, so I have the very pleasure, but the problem is now my counterpart is missing. Wait a second. Okay, we will do it later. So we will do, you found it? Very well hidden. Okay, very nice. So, look at the numbers. 1,000 members. This means nothing in the Berlin community because everyone is joining all the communities, but I am quite proud that we made it that far. Today we are 1,080, so we crossed that line beginning of February, I guess, and 1,000 members. And you know who has been the 1,000th member? No. A bot that sits, who was that? Was it you? Right, it's you, isn't it? Okay, Carla, we got something for you. A bot. And we got a lot for you, actually. Because all our members mean so much to us. Oh, wow. Whoa. This is what it looks like. That this meetup has been sponsored by Turbine Kreuzberg, which are hosting these meetups. We at least try to be community, okay? So it's about the people, it's not about Turbine, but I have to mention them. Turbine Kreuzberg is a great company. We're hiring. Promotion by Coding Berlin. Someone approached me and asked me to promote it, then I had a look at it, and I must say I'm totally amazed. Who of you is a Golang programmer? Okay, Tino is. No one who's interested in Golang. Anyone? Yeah, Marco is okay. Oh, yeah, a little bit, okay. But Go is a great language, at least people say so. And I guess one of the largest conferences of Go is happening May the 30th until June the 1st. And it's happening in Tenerife. This is Spain, but it's not really Spain, it's actually Africa, but it's an island. If you never have been there, you have to go there. If you want to go there, you can go to a conference. The conference is around 300 euros regular. And I think it's a 50% discount code that they gave us. It's called We Love the Community. If you want to learn, go there, have a nice vacation, and visit this conference. Remember this code. It can save you 100 euros. We love the company. You got it? Community, sorry. Mr. Freud, I'm sorry. Okay, you got it? Nice. The second promotion by Coding Berlin is a promotion for the Turbine Kreuzberg external developer conference. It's called Dev Day. It's going to be amazing. It has an incredibly well-made website. Thank you. It's happening on May the 25th. We got talks, we got people, and we got a coding challenge sponsored by Platform or is it Platform SH? I don't know. So Platform will sponsor it. It's going to be great. It's happening at Festa Kreuzberg and our office in Faro, Portugal, simultaneously. Tickets are 10 euros, this early bird. But from April onwards, it's around 20. So if you want to get to go there for free, it's a free beer, free software. Let there be code, all in capital letters. You can go there for free. Let there be code. Remember it, take it down. Hello, take a seat. There are 2 seats untaken, there are 2 seats untaken. Nice to have you here. More coders. And since you are late, watch that screen, remember the code. You can go to the Dev Day for free. Amazing. You only have to type in Let There Be Code at the Eventbrite ticketing page. Dennis tried to pay with PayPal. It's not working. You have to take it down, right? So with this one, you don't have to struggle with PayPal. I'm already close to the end. Very good. No pressure. Yeah, no pressure. This was the end. This meetup topic is called Next-Gen Commerce. And now I think we can give it away for Mr. Patrick Blum.
Yeah.
I missed to announce the agenda. So first we have a talk, then we have food, then we have another talk, then we have another talk, then we have a long break, then we have a panel discussion.
Can you repeat that again until I fix the setup here?
Talk, food, talk, break, panel.
Okay.
Yeah, if you don't eat that much in the first place, we can have more food.
I need my notes here. So. And now I have to, okay. It's alive, great. So, test it. Yeah, it works. Great. Yeah, awesome. Welcome everybody. Thank you for the noise. This is front-end versus checkout, or in a more detailed way, why we decided to build our own e-commerce front-end. My name is Patrick, and I'm a regular PHP developer, and I work for a company called Shopmacher. As you might guess from the name, we are not a traditional agency. We focused only on e-commerce projects, and this is our beautiful new building. Yeah, we moved there in October last year. It's really, really cool because everything is new and everything smells new. Really cool. So we are located in Gescher, and today I think I work about 5.5 years there. Who knows where Gescher is located, by the way? Awesome. I expected something. So there is Gescher, yeah, and as you can see, Berlin is a little bit, yeah, so it was a quite long journey today, but I'm quite happy to be here. So we at Shopmacher, we love e-commerce, yeah, and this talk is gonna about the e-commerce solution we build for our customers. These are some of our customers. I don't want to talk about everything in detail, but I want to show this slide because I will show some content from Engbers and Zumnorde during the slides, and just for a legal purpose here. So this talk is built like a time travel. So we will start in a few years back and have a look at how we build shops, and then we go further and further and show how the process is going on until we reached our own custom front end and what's the motivation behind it. So let's start in 2013. Exactly in April. This was my start at Shopmacher. And before I started to work for Shopmacher, I worked with some small e-commerce systems. I don't know, who knows XT Commerce? Oh, great. Presta Commerce? Who loves it? Oh, okay. So, I work with this kind of non-object-oriented e-commerce solutions. And if I started to work for Shopmacher, I directly jumped in a more object-oriented way, which was Oxid eShop, which is still one of our favorite e-commerce system. And I want to have a look at a couple of e-commerce systems in the year 2013. So let's start to have a look at Oxid eShop. In 2013, Oxid eShop was in version 4.6 till 4.8, depending on the edition you're running on, because there are three: a free one, a community, then an enterprise, and there's a professional edition too. And all these versions had this edition has something similar. So in 2013, there was no DIC, there was no events, but there already was a module configuration and also a way to extend this e-commerce system. And they had a really, really special backend, because it's a frame set. And just for a short look what Oxid looks like in 2013. Let's have a look at Shopware. Shopware was in version 4.1, which means we had the old plugin structure. The new one is more similar, like the Symfony bundles, you might know. And they already had no DIC. They had there was something similar, but it was really, really down inside the code, and you don't have the possibility to extend it. So it was a quite functional e-commerce solution, but not as far as they are today. And then there was commerce tools, for example. What about commerce tools in 2013? Nothing, because there was no commerce tools in 2013. The first release was in 2014. So, and commerce tools is such a more microservice-based approach. So it's more like a transaction software instead of a basic e-commerce software. And it's really cool that someone of Spryker is here today, because when was the first release of Spryker?
That's a difficult question.
When was the first official release, which you can Google?
I guess somewhere in the end of 2014.
Okay, then my research is badly wrong, because I Googled it and I found out that it was that it should have been in 2016, but it was earlier. Okay, great, but there was no Spryker in 2013.
Not under that name.
Okay, great. So no Spryker for everyone in 2013. Yeah. But we had to build shops. So we focused on this kind of monolithic approach. Yeah. So you have the software which you install, and basically mostly we worked with Oxid eShop, because this is the e-commerce solution we have the most knowledge in it. And also we worked with Shopware, but not so much in deep in 2013. So let's have a look at a traditional e-commerce system and how we customize it, just for short. This is a traditional e-commerce system. Yeah, everyone is confused? Great. So let's imagine the light is a module, the wheels are a module, the paint is a module, but in complete it's an e-commerce system. Yeah, you can drive it, sell your products. And if a customer comes to us and said, okay, I'm not so, the lights are not so cool, so please change the lights. What? Ouch. Okay, so better?
Change anything.
Okay. Me too. I don't know. Yes? No? Better? So, everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, me too.
Okay, sorry.
So, yeah, so what was the way we go if we want to change the lights? We just simply write a feature module. Yeah? So we take this small feature, which is basically a collection of files. We have a light controller, a light module, a metadata PHP, which is something special from the Oxid e-commerce system. This is the file where you announce all the changes of the e-commerce system, and the SQL migration and the light view. So, and we rolled it out, changed the lights, customers happy, everything's fine. Small change just for the look and feel of the e-commerce system. Great. Yeah, a couple of months later, the customer said, okay, the last change was in spring, now we have summer, and yeah, I want to have the look and feel of my shop a little bit more different. It's just a small change, you can change it maybe in a minute or an hour or two. I want to have the shop looking like this. Yeah? But the light was the same, by the way. So, and we said, okay, this is quite complex because every feature is identically, but only the look of the shop changes and only the presentation of the products changes. So we said, okay, let's divide it in some features or in some modules and then start. And so because we already had the feature module, we start to extend it with the feature extended module. Yeah, so now we add the bumper because here, as you can see, there's a bumper. In the other one, there was no real one. So we added a bumper controller, a model, and the view. Roll it out, clear. Yeah, so far, so good. Yeah, in autumn, the customer calls us again and said, okay, we have a little small change here. Yeah, the e-commerce system should now look like this. And we said, okay, great, let's do this. So there's no bumper anymore, so we had to remove the bumper. So we had the feature custom extended module. As you can see, the name gets quite complex. And now we remove the bumper, we have the wheel controller, and we also have the wheel view and a wheel model. But we also have a bumper module because we don't really know if another module depends on this model. So just to keep safe, yeah, to be safe, let it there. Yeah, and it happens sometimes that the customer calls us during these kind of changes and said, okay, wait, we want to stop the complete process because we want to prepare for next summer, but the look and feel should be like this. And at this point, every developer starts freaking out. Yeah, as you can see, it's a work, but it's not a work everyone likes. So. And in 2013, exactly in July, the first idea of a product comes here to get rid of all these kind of changes. Yeah? And because we have all the knowledge with Oxid eShop, we said, okay, let's build a solution for Oxid eShop first. So this is the Oxid eShop system, which how it looks today. Sadly, I don't found an image from 2014. So yeah, this is the shop system, how here it looks. But yeah. So as you can see here, there's here's a banner, which is a banner slider and some products, and we want to give our customers more flexibility to this. Yeah. So we don't want to change all the lights and the wheels and the bumpers, and the customer should do this by their own. Yeah, and they should do that simple. Not the way Magento did it. We don't want to deploy everything only for a change of an XML structure. So we want more flexibility for our customers. We want that they can do something like this. So just flipping it, yeah? Or maybe remove the products. And with this idea, we started to create a product called Commerce Cockpit. And the Commerce Cockpit is basically the start of the development of our own front end, because it's software as a service, JavaScript, single-site application based on Symfony. Yeah? So it's a separate application where you can edit the content of your e-commerce system. Yeah? in a more detailed way than the e-commerce system already provides, because in Oxid there already is a possibility to change some content inside, but we want to do that with product lists and also with the content of nearly any page. So the technical view of this is pretty simple. It's like this. You have the commerce cockpit, then you have a PHP updater and the e-commerce system, and the PHP updater replicates the information from the commerce cockpit into the e-commerce system. Yeah, and it's also a bidirectional communication, because you want, we found a solution to encapsulate functionalities and make them editable, no, not editable, usable inside the commerce cockpit. So for example, a newsletter form. If you have a newsletter form in your e-commerce system, we found a solution to wrap these functionality into a widget, and then the customer can just drag it wherever he wants inside the commerce cockpit. So, and yeah, this is the basic idea behind. And we ended up with this product. I don't want to talk about anything here because, as you can see, it's quite a large product. The interesting point is stage here, which is the first one. Stage represents the stage of your e-commerce system. So as you can see, you have some more points here. You have cloud, where you can add some content or images or movies or so on. You have push, where you can create some discounts for special purposes and so. And on stage, you have the navigation here on the left, which represents the navigation of your e-commerce system. And then you have the page views here. These are the ones I recently worked on. By the way, this is the commerce cockpit from Englos. This is the reason why we see Englos content. And if I click on the navigation point here, I can see several pages. And if I click on it, I can see, okay, pretty cool. It's a what you see is what you get editor, where you can drag and drop some content, and then you can edit your product lists and so on. So, and this was quite progress. Yeah, this was really cool. Our customers liked this solution because it's a more detailed solution than the original e-commerce system provides. So let's go further. Let's go in 2014. In 2014, especially in March, we worked a lot on the commerce cockpit. Yeah, so because it's a Symfony application, we learned a lot from Symfony. We had some consultings especially for Symfony, and we found out, okay, we already have these feature custom extended module structure. Yeah, so the next part was how we refactored our modules, because there are still some modules which are necessary for the e-commerce system or the customization, which are not really influenced by the front-end view. So we learned a lot about Composer, and we loved Composer. We use it every day. So we started to think about how can we divide the implementation of the module from the domain logic. And this is where it ends. We have now the implementation of the module and the domain logic separated. So this is a pretty cool thing, because now we can use the domain logic also for other e-commerce systems, for example, for shopware. But at this point of time, we didn't know that. But if you want to divide your domain logic from the regular e-commerce system, especially in Oxid, you have to use a dependency injection container. But in 2014, there was no dependency injection container. So we think about, hey, let's build our own. No, don't do this. It's a really, really bad idea. Don't do this. So we take the one we know from Symfony and created a really, really small wrapper for it that we can put this into Oxid. Yeah. So and this was the creation of the SMDIC. Today, which is really cool, there is a dependency injection solution for Oxid, but because all our modules still use our implementation, we don't have switched to every new module for this. So this small wrapper is a really thin wrapper. So you have, for example, it can only parse XML structure. Yeah, so the definitions of the services can only be written in XML. We have a get service, a get parameter, a set parameter, we have a very, very light way of compiler parsers, which we can use inside the module implementation, but we have no tags, for example, just to explain how thin this layer is. And this was really cool because this starts our modules to the next level. So, still 2014, but August, we refactored all modules. Yeah, so, and our customers worked more and more with the Commerce Cockpit, and some customers said, okay, it's quite cool that it's natively integrated in Oxid because it's an Oxid module. I can just activate it and I can use my content here. But other customers said, okay, cool solution, but we want to have shopware. And the front-end development says, okay, we want to have some cool new stuff. We want to have native, some cool JavaScript frameworks, which are not so easy to implement into a native software because you can crack some of it. And we found some problems with the caching structure during the usage of the Commerce Cockpit. So, yeah, the result was that the basic limitation of the Commerce Cockpit was the front end of the e-commerce system itself. So we start to decouple the start page and the content page of the e-commerce system completely from the view. We decoupled the product list and search results list. And we decoupled the article details page and for this customer, especially of the outfit details page. And this was the creation of something we called base frontend. Yeah, this was the creation of the beginning of our own e-commerce frontend. And the idea was cool, and every developer likes it because it's like a green place. You can just build your own frontend from scratch. But it does not fit with this kind of implementation here because it's nearly a bidirectional communication to the shop system. So now the setup or the process must change. Today it looks nearly like this. There are some more detailed points, but basically it looks like this. As the communication goes only from the updater to the shop system, it goes also to the base frontend. And what is really cool or really special here, the base frontend gets this data only from the search implementation. So we added in a search system. We first started with Fact Finder, and then till today we used Elasticsearch. Some customers already use Zemnox or so on. So basically, the search implementation can also be changed because there is a thin wrapper between the implementation and the base frontend node. We try to keep it simple as we can. So now the e-commerce system provides the data to the search, and the search provides the data to base frontend. And this makes the frontend really, really fast. It's awesome because you have no database interactions here. So no is not correct. You have less database actions here, but it makes it really, really fast. And we also have a bidirectional connection between base frontend and the shop system. Why? Question to the audience. Session and cart, exactly. Because you want to show the mini basket in the header. Or if you're using the checkout, you want to show the header, which can be edited into the front end. So because of this structure, we have now the separation of the front end and the checkout. So if a customer comes to an e-commerce solution of us, he will see every detail or every product representation from base frontend. And as you go to the checkout process, so as you go to the My Account or the checkout and the registration page and so on, you're on the native e-commerce system. And this is because writing a checkout process is a tough task. Writing payment implementations is a tough task. No one wants to write his own payment implementation because the word pain is already inside. Yeah? So this is the reason why we separated. And now it's really cool because now the shop system can be nearly everything. It can be Oxid, it can be shopware, it can be commerce tools, it can be whatever we want. So this is cool because this gives the customer more freedom. If a customer says, okay, I like your solution, but I don't like Oxid, shopware, commerce tools, whatever, I want to have Magento, okay, great. Let's build a solution for Magento. And with build a solution, I mean build proxy modules, because this is something you have to change because e-commerce system like Oxid or shopware is not built to provide information about the shopping cart for the whole world with a JSON API. So we have to create such modules that we can, for example, add a product to the cart with a JSON API. So you have to create several endpoints here for product adding to the cart, remove from the cart, add something to the wish list, and so on. And this is something we have to write for every new shop implementation now. So if we haven't already one, if the customer said, okay, I want to have Magento, and we said, okay, we have no proxy modules for Magento, we have to build them. And this comes with some special thing because you have to secure the communication between the base front and base checkout here. If you are not in a dedicated virtual LAN or so on, you have to secure it on the regular way using SSL or so on, so that the connections are definitely encrypted. And this makes the whole situation extremely flexible. Some years later, so we put some work on it here. Now we're in 2018, in June. We started a proof of concept with a company called Videro. Who knows Videro? No one. Okay. Who knows digital signage? No one. Great. Okay. Videro is a digital signage company. Digital signage means presentation of content at the point of sale. So if I'm a regular retailer and I want to show some information about the products, I can just roll out such a rollout display in front of my store, or I can hang up such a nice display and put some content on there with Videro. And one of our customers, Zumnode, it's a shoe seller, started to work with Videro and add some displays to their main store to inform the customers about latest products. And we said, okay, this is a cool thing. Let's have a look. How can we combine the e-commerce system with this presentation? Yeah. So with this presentation, and it looks like this. This is, by the way, in our main office. We have a duplicate one of the screen. The other one is in the store of Zumnode, and here you can just tap on the content here and you end up with some product list, yeah, and you can swipe this product list here, and if you click on an article, you will see some details about it and a QR code, so you can directly shop this article online or turn around and go into the store if it's open. Yeah. So, and this at this point we said, okay, great. Now this was so easy possible using base frontend because we can just simply change the view from the base frontend, which is editable for the commerce cockpit. So this product list is filled from the commerce cockpit. It's a dedicated product list. You can put some products in there and can spread it to all the Videro panels. And this is really cool because this is the solution we built for our customers. We never thought about it for a couple of years. That is something is so possible. So yeah, it was really fun to work on it, yeah, because it's also a green place. So now, 2019, exactly today, we have a look at these 6 years of e-commerce evolution. So if I thought or think about the start of the commerce cockpit, this approach was really new to everyone in our company. So their expectation was not so much, but there was a team on it and they worked hard on it. And today we see there is a movement from these monolithic approaches to more microservice-based approaches. So you can, now it does not matter where I buy the product. Is it on my smartphone? Is it in the store? Or is it on the regular desktop page? But it should have been at the same for the same company. Yeah. So, but they have the possibility to spread the channels to sell their products, and this comes with some things you have to keep in mind, because this kind of microservice approach is more infrastructure you have to handle. You need to have a good partner for this, and yeah, there are some lessons learned about these creation of software here. And one thing is maintaining. Yeah? Maintaining a software as a service application is not so easy, because you have to talk to your customers. You have to say no to your customers, because some customers said, hey, I want to have this feature, please put it in the application. And you have to say no, because it's not a feature every customer needs. We can have a look if we use this, or if you can handle this on the project side. And by the way, we found a solution for this, but it gets too much in detail here. But it's really necessary, or really important to think about when you say no and when you say yes to the customers, because there are already features which every customer created in a project context, and later on we moved it to the native app. So you also have to say yes to the customers, and you have to talk to your customers. A customer is not really happy if you deploy something and the whole service is not running anymore. Yeah, something we had to learn. And what really important is, don't write a JavaScript application with PHP developers. Yeah? Because one of our main tasks today is it to get a good future-safe code base, because we did some things inside the software. Yeah, we didn't know it better at this point of time. So today we are really, really good JavaScript developers, and they said, oh, we had to rework this completely. So yeah, and this also has to be done with no offline time. Yeah? So one thing more you have to keep in mind. And the last thing is you have to think about logging. We have to improve. We had to improve our logging. Today we use centralized log services, so we don't have to SSH into every machine. The support can use it. This is something the customer and also the support really loves it. So, and the last thing, this is really hard. The Commerce Cockpit is not the Holy Grail. This was a bad thing we had to learn, because if you start creating a product, you put so much patience in it. And nearly every customer who walks by, you said, this is cool, you have to try the solution, it's awesome, please buy it. And yeah, but that does not fit on every customer. Because today we also had customers which are really, really happy with a basic Oxid installation or a basic Shopware installation, because there is no so much movement on the product pages anymore for them, or it's just a test if you create a brand, you want to test, okay, is it a brand which is successful on the e-commerce, then you don't want to set up this kind of approach here, because you want to have something like a speedboat. So just set up a small application, a small shop system, and just look how the brand and the shop system works together. So this was really hard, because for all the developers on the team, but it's still true. And for that, I would say thank you very much. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask, please. Yes? Oh, you? Nothing? Yes, please.
You said that
Exactly.
and learn it the hard way.
Yeah.
So what did you do?
We improved the way how we talk to our customers in front. So instead of going here and throwing this product on it, we said, okay, what is your need? What do you need? Did you need a transaction platform for commerce, or did you need just a one page where you want to sell one product or so on? And this was improvement inside the sales context. So we improved the sales context here. Now we talk more to our customers. We had several documents for it where where we go through and talk to the customer and said, okay, and then we said this could be a solution, but keep in mind it's not a solution for a short for a speedboat or so on. It's a solution for a long-term distance. Yeah. Other questions? Did this answer your question? Okay, cool. Yeah, please.
So when you want to integrate a new shop system, how long does it roughly take you?
I can't say a fixed number here because it depends on the shop system, what it provides before. So shopware was, for example, much easier to implement or to write the proxy models for because there is already a kind of JSON API. So I would say, sorry, I cannot say a number. So I cannot say it will be took 6 months or so, but it depends definitely on the e-commerce system. So if it is a transactional driven approach, so like commerce tools or so, I think commerce tools it was ready in 3 months or so. I don't know really. So if the system is not so much close from the source here, then it can be really, really fast.
That would have been a follow-up question. What if the system does not have like an API? So do you create like models inside the shop system to attach to?
Yeah, exactly. This is the way we go there, and this means sometimes that you have talked to the manufacturers because some functionalities are not provided for the outside world. Yeah, so there is something where you say, okay, this could be a record change. I don't know if there is any more one. I don't think so, because we are really good in contact, especially with Oxid. So, yeah, definitely we create such modes because it's only one module where we can add all these information. It's just the providing endpoint module, the proxy module, and it could be that the endpoints were not so much configurable for a shop system because it does not provide it, but the basic functionalities are for every shop system the same. Okay. More questions? Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Sorry?
You are from the western border of Germany.
Exactly, moin. The company is located in Gescher, but I live in Ochtrup.
What? Okay, so what's the next closer, larger city?
Münster. It's about Münster. It's about 50 kilometers.
Okay. If you go to Münster once, go there.
Yeah. It's awesome. We have also a PHP user group. Whoop, whoop.
PHP user group.
Yeah.
We also got PHP user group members here in the audience from Berlin, in the very back. And Central user group in the front.
Whee.
And guess what? We got food in the kitchen.
Yay.
So I would suggest to have food now and have a slightly longer break, and then we hear Marco from Spriker is. Okay.
Yeah. And I have to correct my slides.
Kitchen's in the end of the hallway.
tatsächlich dann eine Code-Analyse. Also wir fragen, klar, wir haben zum Beispiel, also wir hatten halt echt viel Erfahrung mit Offset, deswegen wussten wir da relativ viel drüber. Aber wir haben zum Beispiel, bei Shopware haben wir einfach gefragt. Ne? Und die haben gesagt, hier, da guckt ihr euch die Dokumentation an, ne? Da steht alles drin, was das Ding so kann. Und ja, wenn jetzt, wäre natürlich sehr cool, wenn jetzt die Software kommt und sagen, okay, hier, das sind die Spezifikationen. Schaut euch das mal an. Ja, das ist richtig. Ja, wir haben die Basic Functionality ist im grundsätzlich abgedeckt, also alles, was du brauchst, um zu shoppen. Es gibt dann halt auch so Besonderheiten, wie zum Beispiel, einige Shops haben halt Bewertungen, ne, also Remarks und andere nicht. So, und dann fehlt, wenn der Endpunkt dann halt nicht da ist, oder das Provider dann sagt der Endpunkt, sorry, ich bin nicht da, und dann, wenn der Kunde dann sagt, okay, ich möchte es aber trotzdem haben, dann müssen wir halt schauen, dass wir da eine Lösung für finden. Ja. Aber die Spezifikation ist nicht öffentlich. Noch. Wir sind aktuell dabei, das Ganze umzubauen. Zum Beispiel haben wir für einen Kunden hier, den wir gerade gesehen haben, mehr Engmas, haben wir den Mini-Basket komplett in Vue.js gemacht. Ja, also das ist halt ziemlich cool. Wir sind jetzt in der Lage, ein Teil der Seite nur Vue.js, ja. Aber wir können natürlich auch, wir sind auch in der Lage, jetzt, dadurch, dass wir quasi unser eigenes Süppchen kochen da, das komplette Frontend einfach JavaScript Native zu machen zum Beispiel. Die Möglichkeit besteht. Aber, ja. Ja, es war auch tatsächlich nicht einfach, aber es ist wirklich cool. Also es macht echt Spaß, damit zu arbeiten.
Damals hat es auch nur ein paar Monate gedauert. Ist nicht an. Aber hast du ein MacBook? Warum wolltest du keinen Linux-Rechner haben? Wolltest du keinen Linux-Rechner haben hier? Wolltest du hier? Warum nicht? That's really not the good color to wear. Du musst auf OK drücken. Das kann ich nicht. Ja, aber musst du jetzt noch OK drücken? Und musst du noch irgendwas mit dem Mikrofon machen? Ich höre mich nicht. Test, Test. Gesundheit. Nicht? Okay.
Wenn ich da nicht sehe, will ich da nie was sehen. So, dann werden wir mal den Mac hier fixen.
Das hat sich seit Jahren nicht geändert. Change 1, 2, 3.
What you change is what you get.
Der Fernseher sagt, drücke OK.
Ja, nee, der drückt für den Bild- und Tontest, okay. Hast du den kaputt gemacht? Guck mal, jetzt bringt's. So. Da ist ein Bild.
Ah.
Da ist ein Bild. Lass doch mal die Adolf ran hier, warte mal. So.
Mach mal Mirroring aus erstmal.
So. Everyone's back again, very nice. May I take a picture of you? Yeah, it's a picture. Could you please look alive on the picture? Move. Shake your head. Raise your hands. Raise your hands, everyone. Yeah, very nice. Wave. You look amazing. You look amazing. Next talk is by our very good friend Marco Bodini from Spryker, and he will tell us when Spryker has been founded, I guess.
Yeah, it will be part of the thing actually.
Speak close to the microphone. The stage is yours.
I think that when I have my speaker voice, then I'm loud enough even from a bit of a distance from the microphone. Can everyone hear me in the room, or am I just mistaken about this assumption? Okay. Hi, my name is Marco. I work for a company called Spryker, and first of all, I would like to know who has heard about Spryker here. That is a lot more than I expected. Who has worked with Spryker here? Very good. That is good. So first of all, hi, my name is Marco. I've been with Spryker for 4 years now. For one reason or another, people tell me that I do not look like this picture at the moment. And someone narrowed it down to the suit. Also, it might be about 5 years old, and there might be about 5 kilograms between now and then. I've been working for Spryker for almost 4 years now. I've been hired a bit later, so my employee number is not as low as it should be. But when I entered the room at Spryker the first time, there were like 5 people sitting there. And the CTO back then, Fabian, gave me a laptop, and then I did not leave the company anymore from that moment. And some of you here I almost know as long as I've been in this company, and other people here I even interviewed for Spryker, who worked for Spryker briefly, and yeah, I'm still there. I don't know why. So, no, of course I know why.
Not a speaker topic.
I've been developing for I think almost 20 years now. I started with PHP, then at the university I did mostly Java and stuff, and professionally I've almost exclusively worked with PHP over my career. So the first couple of slides look a little bit more fancy than I would usually display, but I threw them together from a business deck that I found somewhere in our Google Drive. So why did we build Spryker the way we build it? So it is about the separation of backend and frontend, and I will repeatedly come back to that topic. It's about built-in performance and scalability. It's about package principles and decoupling of concerns and these things. We have a nice thing for coordinating order processes that we realized with the state machine, and we are like very focused on good code quality, on clean code, and also good architecture. Those of you who did not raise their hands when I asked about knowing Spryker, who knows Rocket Internet? Okay, so I hope that, so who does not know Rocket Internet? Maybe that's the easier question. This tells me that it's still presenting. Rocket Internet. Okay, so the slide is...
Should I just stand here?
Yes, please. So, the first generation...
We also embrace Spryker, I must say that. We love it. Okay.
You
touch this one.
I have to move. Okay, I'm not allowed to touch this one, so I will continue like this. Spryker actually started as the foundation for all the early Rocket Internet startups. Some of you might have worked for a Rocket startup or another and have been in contact with systems called Alice and Bob. These were like the ancestors of the current Spryker system. Let's say at some point managers from the high levels of Rocket Internet did not agree to what the founders of Rocket Internet had in mind as a management style, and so they decided to leave the company, and together with the Otto Group found something that's now called Project A Ventures. It's an operational venture capitalist. That means they do not only give you money if they are like convinced of your idea and the composition of the founding team, but they will also give you expertise on actually every level you can imagine in one of these companies. They give you HR, developers first of all, they give you marketing, so everything you can wish for there, and they not only provide mentorship like in many other programs, but also like work as part of your company for the early phases of these companies. And then the Alice and Bob system that was founded in Rocket Internet and was actually also the foundation of the first iterations of the Zalando system evolved into something that is called Eve and Z as equivalent to Alice and Bob. And out of that, Spryker was founded out of Project A. So we still have the namespaces Eve and Z for the back and the front end application. And if you work with Spryker, you will encounter that basically every day. But for marketing reasons, or actually for reasons of clarity, we use different terminologies for the shop application and the Spryker Commerce OS, which is the former Z system. So this is basically the commerce core system that we have. We position ourselves usually somewhere in the middle between companies that actually do not really need any technology-driven approach and companies that live by this technology-driven approach. So what we provide is the technological foundation to build very customized and technology-driven stuff without taking too much of the ownership of the underlying platform, like, for example, Google, Amazon, extreme examples I know, or Wayfair, Etsy do. How we compare ourselves to competitors is that we kind of twist around this pyramid of customization. So other e-commerce solutions give you a very standard set of features, and they allow you to put your customization on top. And for Spryker, it's actually the other way around. It's not that we provide fewer features, but our focus is rather to enable you to put your customization on top of our code, and we try to make it as easy as possible for you and to get out of the way wherever you would like to put something on your own. So this Spryker Commerce OS provides you with all the functionality that you need in an e-commerce system. We allow for third-party integrations. We have a strong focus on code quality and solid software design, as mentioned earlier. And this is actually a collection of these functionalities that are also connected to a queue system, a database, a job scheduler. These are all details. I don't want to bother you with that. If you have questions, you can ask me later, or actually you can ask like people here, people there. They have all a bit of Spryker experience. How do we connect the Spryker Commerce OS to anything that might be customer facing? So at first, because we are also kind of like old in the first approaches with this Alice and Bob system, we had this shop application called Eve, and that was like completely decoupled from the Spryker Commerce OS. And in the like years, in the last years, there was a huge trend to go through this API approach. So we, in parallel to the Eve application, built something that we call the Glue API, and that is going to be most of the topic of this talk, I hope, if I did not copy too many of these marketing slides. And these two applications are relying on the same functionality that is provided through a client layer that is capable of communicating with the Spryker Commerce OS, as well as like an underlying set of data storages that provide a denormalized and read-optimized model. This is basically the way that Spryker achieves this performance and scalability by taking the stuff that is in the backend in this relational database. Usually it's Postgres. We are also compatible with other database systems, another detail. And through a more or less complex mechanism makes it denormalized and read-optimized available to this client layer. And building the Glue API in parallel to the shop application based on the client layer allows us to reuse a lot of the functionality that we already built over the last year. So we do not have to reinvent the wheel. We can actually start from a already fairly round wheel that we can use. Oh, maybe I was inspired by this round thing. So the business motivation behind this is that the customer journey becomes more complex over the years. And there's actually no end we can see. The customer lifecycle has a growing number of touch points the customer has with you. And you cannot predict how, where, and when the customer wants to interact with something where like you want to be to like also display your services, your products, and something like this. So the markets of mobile, for example, are rising rapidly. So desktop is actually a shrinking, in some segments, actually disappearing margin of e-commerce revenue source. Then we are currently tending heavily towards B2B feature sets, and this is because the market is much bigger. So if you are not really in contact with these things, you would not believe that. But the B2C market is predicted to have a volume of $3.2 billion in 2020. The B2B market is more than twice than that. And there's, okay, this dollar sign you have to ignore because this is actually the number of estimated devices. It's 26 billion connected devices for the IoT market. Actually, in that case, it should. So there is no end to the prediction of what the IoT market can provide in terms of revenue. So this is definitely, if you are going to be part of this market, now is the time. Now you can put your foot in the door and try to like establish yourself as a company that kind of can basically react to everything that is coming. And this is also like a trend we see for many years. So I guess that most of you are about my age. I think maybe a bit younger, maybe a bit older. I'm not looking at anyone in particular. No, I know, you're not that much older. And we all, most of us probably grew up with a desktop computer. Then we saw that responsive design slowly came into our world because we all had mobile phones with WAP or something like this. And then we saw the rise of the iPhone from 2007 and Android phones or later iPhone generations from there on. And functionality began to be built for mobile devices first, because this is, Google already predicted this years ago that this market would be much bigger in most, if not all of the segments that you can imagine. Then there came like very unexpected devices, the smartwatch, I think this is supposed to be a smart band or so. Then we have, yeah, I don't know. This is probably a virtual reality device and an app ecosystem. Then we have dash buttons, which are only virtual anymore, of course. But they still exist. They also still look like this, just not tangible. And voice commerce is also a big trend, also bots and messaging and stuff. So actually, what this timeline is supposed to tell us, we do not know. We do not know. We cannot predict, and we also should not predict what's to come. So we should be prepared for anything that comes. And what do we need for that? We need an API. So you want to have your data, you want to be present wherever the customer is, and you do not want to make assumptions right now where this could be in, I don't know, half a year, 1 year, 2 years, something like this. And because of that, I think I already said this, we created the Glue API as an application that lives in parallel to the shop application, and basically any like imaginable front end can be connected through this, and you can reuse established e-commerce functionality in, through this API. So this was the introduction, and now I actually want to tell you something about what the Glue REST API in Spryker actually is. So it's actually not an API per se, but it's an infrastructure for an API framework. That means whatever application you have here, this basically provides you to have endpoints that allow you to, theoretically at least, provide any kind of API that yeah, your applications might need. So if you already have existing applications that talk to GraphQL or so, this would all be possible. But out of the box, we speak something that is called JSON API. Who of you has heard or worked with JSON API? Okay, that's not too bad. JSON API is a very lightweight format, of course, in JSON, as the name gives away, and it allows you to define relationships between resources and then also reuse resources you send back in this relationship. So I know that the question will come, so I will take it now. Why not GraphQL? We are aware, we talked a lot to customers, and actually this fulfills all their requirements. Another thing is that all the code that we have is PHP, so you do not have to have someone who has to learn GraphQL. And furthermore, if you want to have your GraphQL node, your GraphQL server, you can still put it in front and talk to our API. So there's nothing preventing you from anything like that. So this is the standard question. We have a lot of e-commerce entities already in our system, and the way we present them is through something that has a very specific naming convention as REST API modules. So Spryker is also built in a very modular way, and all of the like business subdomains are encapsulated in modules that exclusively treat that bit of encapsulated business functionality that's only treating this one piece of the system. And for most of these entities that we already provide, we also have API endpoints. And for those that we do not yet provide, we are currently working on. So everything that you can use in a e-commerce system, and in the Spryker case, in a B2B e-commerce system, you will find a B2B endpoint already available. That meaning for the customer-facing stuff. So import endpoints and these things are still in the works. We are currently speccing these things. But for everything that's facing to the customer, so everything that's displaying data in these things, and that actually allows for the conversion funnel, we already provide you with functionality out of the box. And of course, as I said, you can put your custom development on top, or actually we encourage you and we empower you to put your custom development on top. Same as here. Those of you who have used Spryker are also aware that there's a lot of explicit code. Why? I can also explain, but this is a topic for another day. And in the long run, I think it's beneficial. I will gladly also tell you why. And for beginners, this might look a bit scary, but relevant in most cases are actually just a reader and a mapper class inside of these resource modules that tell us how we read the data we want to present there and how we map it to the format we defined and that's supposed to be displayed. We also implemented this relationship concept of the JSON API. That means we do not only have these endpoints. Of course, we also have these endpoints, but you can actually theoretically infinitely combine these endpoints in creating relationships between those. And then you can also reuse them because as I showed you in the other format, you tell it that you have a relationship to another entity and then you embed the entity later in the data that's provided with the API. I hope I can also show you an example of that shortly. Versioning is a thing where we do not make assumptions about how your front ends work. So maybe we provide something out of the box and we change the type of a field or we add a field, and for some front ends this might be a backward compatibility break. So but since we do not know how your front ends work and we do not want you to talk to version 1700 at some point to any of these API endpoints, we do not make assumptions about this. So if you know that an endpoint that was newly introduced or would cause a break in your API endpoint is irrelevant for the front ends you use, then it's irrelevant for you. You don't have to change your version. Otherwise, you can create a new version of your API endpoint and yeah, just serve that as the new specified version. So from our side, no assumptions about the version. It's entirely your choice. We know that documentation is most of the time, especially in systems that evolve very quickly and that grow very quickly, is a very difficult topic. Maybe some people here can sing a song about that. So we decided to not make documentation that is written somewhere that describes how the API looks like, because we don't know from our side, because your API is entirely under your control. And this is why we also provided possibilities for you to create an export file in the OpenAPI format, formerly known as Swagger. And this is also importable into a tool called Postman. And I hope that most of you already touched something with an API use Postman, because it's an amazing tool that's also integratable into CI pipelines, for example. So let's look at some code. Are already any questions up to this point?
Have you ever thought about using JSON LD instead of JSON API?
I do not know. I think yes, but what would be the difference?
Oh, it's nice. Cool.
Oh, I'm interested. I will ask you later about this. What does the LD stand for?
Okay, advertisement. Tomorrow Maybe there is one talk about why JSON LD is just nice. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thanks. The speaker just said he doesn't heard of API platform before, but I hope till tomorrow.
I heard that he will make it anyway.
Yeah, great.
Okay, let's have a look at one of these REST API modules inside of our dependencies. Let's take any one that looks or sounds kind of okay-ish. I think about something like, I don't know. Product group, product image, list, product option. Yeah, we have a lot of modules, and most of them. So that looks good. So we already saw the amount of classes involved in the API endpoint we just saw, and there's a lot of infrastructural code that I do not want to talk about at the moment. If you are interested in that and have not worked with Spryker so far, or if you have worked with Spryker so far and are interested in why we built it that way, please come talk to me. I can give you explanations for everything. Almost everything. First of all, we have these controllers that also contain a bit of documentation format that tell the Swagger API on how something is supposed to work. Here you can also define what kind of actions your controller should have, so what kind of HTTP verbs you want to expose for this API endpoint. Inside here you also go to the actual implementation that is then based. Oh, sorry. I can read just fine. And it's actually not that important what's inside here. So I actually just wanted to I just wanted to give you a rough overview on how this looks. Bernd, can you tell me how I can go back to the project thing in the presentation view? Command 1. Thank you. Bernd. This is why I'm here. That's called key promoter, and it's the most ugly thing on purpose, most probably. Yes, thank you. I should switch back to that. At some point I turned it off, but yes. I do not code that much lately, unfortunately. So the point here is that you have the controllers where you can decide what kind of HTTP verb is exposed in your API endpoint. You have the mappers and the readers that we talked about. And you have also the possibility to define something that's called the root plugin. This is actually where you this is the place where you decide which HTTP verbs you serve, and the controller is the part where you actually do the implementation of that reaction to this HTTP verb. Okay, long story short. In the end, how do I leave this mode? That's too easy.
Just went, no one knows how to execute. Never again.
It does not.
It's okay.
Escape also does not work. All my touch bar is broken. So we provide all these endpoints, and you can put, or we actually, like I said, encourage you to put your customizations on top of this. So at the end, you will have the possibility to create. I hope I already started. Virtual machine. So yes, we are still using Vagrant, but Next week there will be a conference that's called. So again, next week there will be a conference called Code Talks Commerce, and maybe someone will announce that we will transition away from Vagrant. Maybe. Okay, Vagrant is not running. Okay, this should only take a moment. And what I will actually want to show you then is that we have a console command that will take all the configured API resources at that point. That means not only the ones available, but in Spryker you have to do a lot of things explicitly for good reason. And all the configured resources at that point will be taken to create a Swagger file or an open API YAML file that is consumable by anything that can make a visualization for a Swagger API. And yeah, just believe me, I have prepared something. Nope. Oh, okay, it was that one. And if you take this file then and go to Swagger Hub, or as I said, any tool that is capable of displaying an open API format, you will see all the API endpoints that you have currently configured in your system. You can see that you have endpoints that are handling authentication. You have endpoints for your catalog search. You will see what these endpoints are capable of, what parameters these can potentially take, what they do expect, and also how the result format might look like. And this format is not only consumable by Swagger Hub. So theoretically, if you have something that's publicly available, you could also run your API requests from Swagger Hub or any other Swagger visualization tool that's capable of that directly from the UI there. So, but unfortunately, this is configured to communicate to something that's running locally, and of course, this will not work if I work with an online tool, unless I take like something like ngrok or any other things that allow me to connect the external world to my local system. But there's also a tool that I just mentioned called Postman, and this also takes this exact API specification format, and this tool is actually built for working and testing APIs like HTTP requests. So it started out as a Chrome plugin, I think, and most of you probably came into contact with that at some point in their career. So I remember it from like, I don't know, I don't want to say numbers, but many, many years ago. So you can see how endpoints look. And you can basically do the same as in, you could potentially do in Swagger Hub. But most interesting in this tool is also that you can create scenarios. For example, something like a customer journey. So, and this is exactly what I want to show you now. We will log in. So, by coincidence, I'm still in the Turbine Wi-Fi. Otherwise, this would not have worked. So, we authenticated with our credentials against the server, and we get an access token. This here is an encrypted JSON web token that will subsequently serve as the authentication and authorization provider in our calls. In Postman, you can save this one into environment variables. Theoretically, you should also be able to not make it environment specific, but also for this one collection specific, but there is a bug, so always go for the environment if you run into something that's not working. Then let's say we want to search something. I chose TravelMate for no apparent reason. I think someone else from our company did this. Then you can like go from the search to the abstract products, which is a product model in Spryker terms. You can go to the product models, which is a variant. Then you can grab your cards, because we have also multi-card features, and you can add the item to your cart. And then you also get your cart functionality back. So everything you would expect from an API in the e-commerce context. Then you can also fetch all the data that might be necessary for the checkout. So under the condition of the current cart user and a couple of other factors, theoretically even all factors that you decide are necessary, you can decide on payment methods, delivery methods, what other options you want to provide there. The user address book, so all this will be provided by this checkout data endpoint, and in the end you can place your orders through the API here. So what you can also do, so what this allows us is to, for example, if we go for the concrete products, we see that we, no, this is not what I wanted. We see that we have so not what I wanted. Relationships to other entities inside here. Why? Give me a second. Oh yeah, of course, here it is. You have IDs of other entities that you embed in your response, and they should actually be included at the bottom here. So now I'm a bit startled. Damn. So if nothing works, I have a video that will show you how this is supposed to work. That should also be available on YouTube shortly. Maybe if I go to my local environment and I look for an abstract product, of course, okay, nope, I have to show you a video, I'm very sorry. So actually what you should have seen here is the thing that I earlier showed you in the presentation, that you have relationships here that you can define, and you actually just link to other entities that are inside of these relationships things. So inside of your data, you, for example, have authors and comments, and I think I should just show you 5 minutes of the video, and then we are also probably about done, Stefan? Do you have time?
I'm not counting minutes.
Okay.
They look very tired.
Okay, so believe me, we can talk about this later. What the key point here is that we have an existing e-commerce system with very mature and battle-proven e-commerce functionality underlying, and we, due to the infrastructure for built for performance, we were able to go with the trends of the last years and also successfully evolve the whole system to transition to an API-first approach. So everything we do from here is that we build it with API first in mind. The customizability and the built-in performance of the Spryker architecture are preserved in all these approaches. So with that in mind, you know that you are prepared for whatever is to come. And what I did not manage to show you is that you can also like chain your relationships. Relationships do not have to be on a technical level. You can decide everything you have in plugins that are just PHP code, so you're completely free doing whatever you want. And you can custom tailor your responses like you would probably do in GraphQL, where you chain all the resources you need. You can reduce them to the fields you actually just need, and you have a response in a single HTTP round trip that contains everything you need to display something in your application, however this might look. Thank you. This guy.
You read this coding concepts. You mentioned members and readers.
Yes.
Logically must be also writers.
No, why?
To post something, to create new.
Yes, but this would be rather the responsibility of the backend API. We have endpoints that do that, but they are not writing something, but they are like a layer on top of this client that I showed you. So they are like accepting data, maybe transforming it a bit, like to like be in the right format for whatever you want to pass on, transfer objects, do you remember that? And they go then through the client. So yes, there's nothing called the writer component in this case.
But at the moment, do you have posts for products or other?
No, no. But because this REST API for the state it is in now is meant for front-end applications. And front-end applications are, in most cases, so out of the box at least, not meant to create such things like product data. So they can create, of course, checkout, something like this. They combine something that we call a quote and pass this onto the checkout process to create the order from this. But they're not capable of importing, for example, product data. This is the responsibility of another type of Glue application. So the infrastructure will stay the same. It's just connected to a different way to the backend functionality. And this will most likely provide functionality like this. Of course, you are free to do that yourself. You remember customizability. And I remember people here that worked with me on projects where we built like the opposite of a checkout process, where you would have to have these capabilities of like as a, not customer, but as a prosumer or something, who is able to insert data into the system beyond a checkout. So, not yet. Yes.
Is there an approach there that you would recommend?
Actually, we have like a system that you can reuse. So you can use these endpoints and implement an additional interface and then give them a version. So you have like major and minor numbers that you can use there. Theoretically, you can also extend that, but that's irrelevant. By default, it will always serve the latest version. The resources delivered out of the box by Spryker are not versioned at all. That means if you put any new version on top and you want to still serve the out-of-the-box resource to some endpoint, you first would have to give it a version number, but this is like a 2-line change. And then you can also extend that and add versioned endpoints as you see fit from there.
In terms of deployment,
Mm-hmm.
can the Glue API be deployed separately, or at least without? I mean, I think that the Spryker application takes time to deploy, but does the Glue API?
I think that the colleagues from the agencies who work more with that are more proficient in that, but in most cases it is not the point that you just deploy a part of it, but you would always deploy Spryker as a mono-repo thing. So at least the project code, which is not that much, and then the host that points to this node would decide what application it wants to talk to. So it would decide on what front-end controller to talk to and what directory and what kind of environment it sets for that node. So you would deploy everything, but the configuration and how you talk to this node would decide what kind of application you're talking to. More questions?
Can you tell something about what will happen to Eves?
That will stay. There are a lot of customers that are, for the moment, only interested in this template-based front-end approach. So Glue is not meant to replace Eve anytime soon. Glue is just an addition, like a complement, you say, to Eve. So Eve will not go anywhere anytime soon.
Will Eve at some point use that Glue API?
I don't think so. That's rather unusual, right? Because even if you build a web application, you would build it with more like JavaScript technology in the front end and let it talk to an API. Because otherwise you would add latency to the whole process. It's possible, of course, but without more context, I don't see that much reason to do so.
You could replace the client with the glue.
No.
No, the client is very more.
The client is like the piece that decides where to take the data from, like reaching through to the back end or going to the data stores. But Glue actually, for the front-end applications at least, sits on top of the client. So of course you could replace the client in some way with that. But this is a case of when you have a good hammer, every problem looks like a nail. So I don't see a reason to do so. Maybe you have or have a customer with a reason to do so, then we put together, probably find a solution and also evaluate how much sense the solution makes.
Okay, with that, thank you so much, Mark. So my experience is that many people will leave after the second talk. Please don't do so because maybe you can get a t-shirt if you stay for the third talk. Should we give you 5 minutes? Yeah?
Yeah.
As you want, you can also stay seated. What do you say? Okay, one person needs another beer. This is why we make 5 minutes. 5 minutes is 9 o'clock. 10 minutes.
I'm cool. How long the?
If you could do it in 30 minutes, that would be really great. If you can, take your time.
20 minutes?
It's 35, so I won't stop you until
Yeah, I
now.
try to take a look because yeah, that may be a bit difficult to follow.
No, the good thing about coding Colin is that we have a very high networking ratio. So other people call it networking, we call it talking. But unfortunately, or fortunately, we got a third talk tonight. If you make it through this talk and you're not frozen, I will try to close the windows again in some seconds. We have some t-shirts. By any chance, did anyone ever put a name on a list where I asked, do you want to have a t-shirt, and did not get a t-shirt? Okay. There are 5 people who told me I want to have one, and they never came and got them. So you can have them. But they got an individual hashtag at the back, and they are quite weird. You will notice. We're going to tell you afterwards. So, from Toulouse, which is in France,
Yeah.
Mr. Pierre Martin.
Yeah, so hi everyone. This will be like the first time I do it. I do such topic without any slide because I wanted to try a full live coding and see where it goes. So we will see code. But first, I need to just introduce myself. I'm like the lead developer of Front Commerce, which is a front-end solution for e-commerce, but it was built by an agency who named Oxitec, who did a lot of shops, but also custom applications. So the goal here today is not about the product, it's much more about the stack and why we think it's a good choice for the next-gen commerce solutions. So Front Commerce is 2 things: a React application. So this is really a progressive web app, like we said right now, but it's a single-page application built with React. So React and other recent JavaScript frameworks brought a whole new thing that's named component-based UIs, and this is a really nice shift in terms of UI development. And it goes very well with GraphQL. So GraphQL is in Front Commerce. So GraphQL is a standard, and there are implementations in JavaScript, PHP, Elixir, Python, and all that stuff. So we are using the Node.js version. So we have both things, and the goal is that the GraphQL middleware is the only backend for the front-end application, which is the React, but let's say you can have many other things. And then it will dispatch to the different services you may have or the big monolith you have. So, yeah, and the third, it's not a technology, but we started it in 2015. We prototyped for 1 year, and we have shops in production since more than 1 year now. So we've done through all the things related to running that stack in production, scaling, Black Fridays, everything related to login deployments and all that stuff. So we could talk about that afterwards if you want. So Front Commerce is First, this is one of the first front commerce websites that came out. Yeah, it sells guns and things like that. That's nice. So this is actually a Magento 2 monolith in the back. And so this is kind of standard e-commerce features. And you see that, well, it works. But since 6 months now, we've also had a new solutions, a new store that has been built with front commerce. There are also others, but this one is interesting because actually you can browse. So it's kind of fast. It's like on the web, but this is faster than the first one because in the backend there is no Magento here. Sorry. And actually, this is a WordPress shop, but without WooCommerce. WordPress is used to upload these beautiful pictures, manage all this content, and also have some kind of prices. But it's a bit difficult because when you start a reservation process, then you have a lot of options. You need to select dates. So this is a really difficult checkout to implement. And it takes values from everywhere. And if I continue, I don't know if there are availabilities because I will try. Hopefully at some point I may have some kind of dates. Yeah, yeah. So here I can have a calendar. So I need to say, show me everything that match all the criteria that I clicked before, and when is that available, and what's the price for them. So here, so basically we have this WordPress website that does all the content management. Then there is a microservice totally dedicated to that use case because it's very particular. That allows to get all the criteria and send the prices and the availabilities for this customization. And here, if you see, when I click that, it takes a while. And it's not because it's Magento, it's because it's a worse system. It's their ERP that's directly reachable through the API with that particular set of criteria, because we need to ensure in real time that the availability is here. And then we are, I won't pay here, but basically then we are directly discussing to the payment provider to place the order. And when the order is paid, then we push that to the ERP. So this is e-commerce with the tools for that particular customer, but in the front end, those are all front commerce core features and existing components that have been plus or less customized. So here is why this stack I think is interesting, because as a front end developer, you will have this kind of local style guide where you can see all your components. I said that was a component-based workflow. So I can say this is my default alert, but there is a success state, which is green, an error state, which is orange also, a gray one. And what happens with those edge cases that you may are used to put in your unit tests? Like if I have a lot of content, the first time that was very ugly, but then here is how we did that. So as a front-end developer, you could just, expandable card. So if I go to the expandable card, by default, it looks like that. But then if I don't know, I will add some content here. And I save, I see the update live here. So I don't know if I want to make it strong. Here. I can work as a front-end developer that way with almost instant feedback and without the need for any backend. So in terms of productivity, this is very, very interesting. And I can also view how that works in responsive mode, kind of. I can also try and really play with my component here in the UI. And let's say that I want to say that when it's expanded, no, not expanded, I want to hide it. Then I can ensure it works that way. And this is very important because this is front-end specific things that we think front-end developers will be more and more used to work with. And when they will have to, let's say, we start working on a new e-commerce system, Spryker, Magento, anyone, they will be frustrated because they don't have that. And if you want to build nice user experience, this will be kind of a must-have. By the way, here, who is doing PHP development? Okay, who is doing JavaScript development? Okay, and who understands that kind of syntax here? In JavaScript, the ES6, okay. I'll try to make it a bit more readable than that, because that's what you, when you do JavaScript for a long time, then you write like that. But don't hesitate to ask me if you don't understand some code.
Can you scale it up by one level?
I think so.
My eyes are very bad tonight. Sorry, getting old. Yeah. I have to take the pictures.
Better?
Nice.
Okay. So, something that, I don't know how to scale that, but that will be fast. This expandable card here is React code, so this is a React component. And the kind of unit tests that we saw earlier is that. This is a story, so we say here is the default use case, and here is how to use that in that default use case. And it acts also as documentation for the future developers that will came here. And if you find a new edge case, you can just add one, and that will work. And also in a component directory, so this is our choice in front commerce, but we really think it allows to have everything collocated here. So we saw the component, its story, and then here we have its styles. So we use Sass, but those are the styles for that. That component was what we name a UI component, but it starts being more interesting when you come to, let's say, more business components. So this is a mini cart item that's displayed in the UI. So here is how it's by default, and where there are two items in that. We can have more cases. And here, in that case, we might have, okay, I take the first one that I have here. It's not very important. The component is a bit complicated, but this is what allows you to do a Stripe checkout. So the component is a bit complex, but actually this is a React component that displays, well, things. And there is a card form here with data, styles here, and the story, of course. And here we are mocking something named an Apollo decorator. Basically, we are mocking a GraphQL endpoint, remote endpoint. So here we say, when you, the Stripe component, will do a GraphQL request to the backend, when you will ask a client secret for a Stripe payment token, then you will have this value. We can, that way, mock the server to say, let's say, if there is an error, if it's very slow, if it's loading, and then you can simulate a lot of things, and you don't hit a backend. And also, because this component did some kind of GraphQL query, we have collocated the GraphQL query in the same directory. So here we have kind of like the SQL query made by that component, and this is in a let's say technology agnostic description. So that was the part for the front end. Just keep that in memory because this is strictly typed. So you can have tools that say that maybe here I've made a typo. So as a front-end developer, I will see my mistake very early, and then I can communicate with back-end developer more easily because I have tooling for that. So now that was for GraphQL on the front end, and I will show you why if you have a good API, building a GraphQL endpoint for front-end developers is kind of easy and, in my opinion, a good thing to do. So Front Commerce is a paid version. I mean, there is a license, so you get access to the code, as we see, but you cannot use that tomorrow if you want. So in the documentation somewhere here, okay, we have a link to something named Front Commerce Lite, which is basically the same concepts, and it's used so you could understand this technology and start very easily to start working with that without configuring Webpack, Babel, all that new things that you might have seen on some blog posts that say that sucks. So we are going to use that. Basically, it's an e-commerce application. I don't know if that works. No, I need to start it. So here it is. So this is a very simple e-commerce application. You do git clone, npm install, and npm start. You will see that. And a coffee you will have also. So basically here I fetch products, I see them on the home page, I can browse their product page, which is very simple, like designers show you in the first stage of a design. Then the customer comes and say, oh, but I need that, and that feature. I can add that to the cart here. And I cannot do checkout because that's a light version and we don't really care about all that features. But here I read information to display products, and then I do what's named in GraphQL a mutation, so I mutated the state of something. And also in the front end, because we're microservice ready, I have some random information of fake user data here from another microservice. That's great. And this is. So this information are coming from here. This GraphQL endpoint. So I asked for the category. Oh, I asked for the category of ID 48, the three first products, and there's SKU and name, and I get that data. So, but if I want to ask, I don't know, what do I have? Their image, for instance. I can ask it, and it comes back. So this is kind of Postman that we showed earlier. It's named GraphQL Playground, and you can plug it on any GraphQL server. And basically what we can see is that as a front-end developer, when a front-end developer will ask, or a client will ask some data, there are only those data that will go into the internet. And this is no matter of, I don't know what I have. Upsell products. I don't know if I have upsell products. Like, I can go very, very deep into the graph and get all the information that I want. So those information actually comes from Magento, but we'll see that we can change that. Also, this tool has also some kind of documentation. So from the schema, which is strictly typed, a GraphQL schema is typed, you can have some comments, so some typing, so you know what are the mandatory parameters and optional parameters also. I don't know, here. In my category, for instance, the layers, this is a query input, and a query input type has all those kind of parameters, so I can change them. Also, I can search here if I want, I don't know, cart. I can see all the types, and so this is very convenient for front-end developers. And actually, it acts as a contract between back-end and front-end developers. And we can start with fake data in that. Then front-end developers do their thing, back-end developers do their thing. And hopefully that works. Hopefully. So this was the whole front commerce API. So this is everything that we've implemented into front commerce. There are also mutations, add item to cart, and all that stuff. And actually, I don't have the code here on my machine. So this is something named GraphQL remote schema stitching. So basically, it's take that GraphQL schema there on that server, put it in my bigger graph. But then I can also have my store information. I think it's here. Yeah, I needed to have more information. So here I asked information from my local data source that fetch data from another system, and I've created that graph and that schema, and it's merged with the remote front commerce Magento schema. And that we could do first here, it's a top level thing, but I could do that in the product. Here I could ask like the store information if that was relevant, and that would work. And we could stitch everything together, and that way we could add features in two separate parts of the code base, or even my architecture in two microservices, and have them consumed in a transparent way by front-end developers. This is, in my opinion, something that's really interesting, because when you're a developer, you're adding and designing things for a product, and you want the store or the stock for a store, I mean, like the stock of this product in one or two stores, for instance. And you don't really care if there are two microservices different, or if it's implemented in Elasticsearch or any, I don't know. So this is how it's consumed, and it's really, in my opinion, a very good entry point for front-end developers. So I will just make it much more easier now. I will remove, this is some kind of magic. Those are feature flags in an environment variable. So I will use, let's see. First, I will just remove the schema stitching, and if I'm correct, we should see that actually there is nothing really in my graph, because we've done some work in front commerce. So here there are just the store information. So if I run this query again, I will have an error saying that there is no category top level query on that thing. So I can comment it. And then it will still run with just my local thing. We'll do something funnier. I've implemented a totally fake local store that just is exposing the part of the graph that are used by this simple application. So this is a totally different implementation with the same interface, and I haven't changed here my front-end code, and you see that works. So those are totally fake. Oh, crap. It's totally fake. The names are, I mean, it's faker. So I go on the page, I can add it to the cart. It's added. Wow, that's amazing. But this is totally fake data. Let's take a look at how it's implemented here. So that would be, so I have a modules file where I can register new modules, and I say that here, if the feature shop bridge is fake, I will add this fake shop module. And then there is one for Molten, we'll see afterwards. So the fake shop module is very simple. It has, this is code that's close to what's in front commerce. We have more features in front commerce to manage dependencies, caching mechanisms, and things like that. But this is very also something that's very common in the GraphQL ecosystem in JavaScript. You will have all these elements. So not necessarily the namespace, but here we have one because it's a module, it needs a name. You have type definitions and resolvers. So the type definitions are imported from a GraphQL schema file. This is a very simple text file that declares my the data that my modules will expose. So here I said that the top level query implements the catalog queries from front commerce and the cart queries from front commerce. So that means that I have to have a category features. I could, yeah, I will show that. I have extracted these interfaces into GraphQL files. So those are public interfaces and common interfaces. So catalog queries and cart queries here. So if I open my file here, I implement these interfaces and also the other one. And my, let's say, a category, so my fake category that implements the category types, then has a name and layer. So this is public interface, and then the real code is in resolver. So a resolver is something that will say that for the query type and for the category field of that type, then I will do that, well, this one is much more easier. For the product, the top level product, I have a SKU parameter here. So I will use that to find the product in the catalog. Of course, in a real use case, you will do a lot of API calls, but this is how that works. And that was the top level query, but I can say that for any, let's say, yeah, any cart item, the quantity will be 1, because I haven't handled adding multiple things in the cart. And I can also convert data. And that means that no matter where the fake cart item is fetched from and where it's exposed, if it's in the cart query or in my previous order that has a cart item, then every time this will be called when a front-end developer, no matter where in the graph, will try to get a quantity for a fake cart item. Okay, so that was for these resolvers. But now let's say that we have a real API in the back. I will use here. I will change that. I will use multi. If I run it, I will still see, hopefully, all the products here. But those are products from my Molten backend, so I had to find some pictures. And here, if I send add to cart mutation, I don't think I can do it. Anyway, here, trust me, it says unknown type cart. And hopefully, if I had the tooling set up on that project, I will have seen it before going in production. But actually, it said me that Molten doesn't have any cart types. So if I go into the backend of the Molten implementation here, I could have seen that very easily because the type query doesn't implement the catalog cart. And then the implementation in a real use case, well, that's not a real use case. Actually, most of that logic, which is very related to Molten, that could be extracted into pure JavaScript code that could be reused in any JavaScript solution or imported from any JavaScript implementation. And here it's just a tiny layer that says that when you ask a layer from a Molten category to fetch data, you will just do that call. And this is a Molten call, but that's very easy to do. I try to go fast because that's the first time I do that, and as I said earlier, I'm very bad at time management, so I'm just half the talk, but I think we need to go faster. So I will just hopefully go to my implementation, and you won't see me typing very fast. Okay, so here I should have a simple CMS module, and in my end I will go back to Magento here and start it again. Okay, so this is content that comes from Magento base CMS feature. I don't have extracted any kind of interfaces in GraphQL, but I've created a kind of new feature that does almost the same, but in a better way, because like in e-commerce, if you want to start building nice shops, of course, there are awesome e-commerce backends that know how to do B2B e-commerce, very custom features, and that scale with a lot of products. But there are also people in the marketing team that say, okay, but your CMS here, it just sucks. So, okay, you have like the best-in-class e-commerce solution, but I cannot drop my big image like that to be on the front end. And then you will have maybe a totally specialized content management system for that part. And maybe there are also other people that will do some kind of predictive analytics, and they would like, and all that people would like to merge everything together. So here, I've implemented a very awesome content management system that says in almost the same thing that for these identifiers, I want the title, the content, and also the source code. So here, the source code is Markdown, because marketing people loves Markdown. And we need to display HTML on the front end. So this is something that will take files in Markdown, call an API to transform them to HTML, and then display that on the front page or something. So if I do that, hopefully, no, that don't work. Okay. It should have worked, but not now. Anyway, the code for that, trust me, you will see the information, but the code for that is very simple. It's so a namespace module. So this is a loader that contains all my business logic. This is pure JavaScript code. And here is all it needed in my GraphQL module to put that into the global graph. So I needed to say that there was a type, my content field in my query, and a simple page was as that field. And then when I asked for my content here, I will just go over all the identifiers and call my loader with a load by ID method that will hopefully send me at some point the data back. And also here, for the content, I use the source from the file. So this is the Markdown source, and I convert it to HTML. So no matter where the data from a simple page comes from, file system, remote API, I don't know, as soon as it's Markdown, I can convert here the source to HTML. So this is very located, and you can split it by features. The last thing here is that this loader, it's created here in a context, and that could be, that's where you could inject yeah, let's say, some objects that can communicate with an API with a predefined user token, authentication tokens, for instance, and you can inject dependencies depending on your current request, and you will make them available in the resolvers. So this is dependency and injection. And then the loader is, well, so to convert a Markdown to HTML, it will just do a post to the GitHub API. If you didn't know, they have an API that converts Markdown to HTML. And it will return the data. And to fetch the files, it will go in the file system, in a directory, data, content, use the identifier as a Markdown, as a file name, and return the data, read the data, and send them. So here, I have my Markdown files, and I can do whatever I want here. And hopefully, if I ask about us, I have my new content. This is Markdown. And here, if I do another one, I have an error because, well, error management is not very well implemented here. But it's because I don't have any test file. But if I create another one, hopefully, that was so ugly that my server crashed. So don't do that at home. This is JavaScript. So here is an overview of how with very few lines of code you can either get remote data from a GraphQL endpoint. We have in plans to do that also, I think, for JSON API because Drupal is using that, or WooCommerce is using that. Well, a lot of people, and those are similar concepts. So I think that might exist at some point. And also to implement your own features, and also experiment and develop very quickly some dirty features, but for customers that works because they have their data here and they can have a store locator in a few hours, and then you prototype the front end, and when you're sure that that works, you will put that awesome microservice to handle store locators. Yeah, so you can try now. Are there any questions? Yes.
In the beginning, you showed all the different components of the slide guide. Is this something React provides or something your application provides? Where does this come from?
This is something named Storybook. I can actually here. I think I have the latest version on that project, and this is a tool that allows you to build those components. First, it was for React, but now there are implementations and adapters for Vue.js, Angular, React Native also, and their new interface. It was released, I think, a few weeks ago. It's much more nicer. Here. Oh, crap. You could have everything. So you can have directories. You can have Markdown. You can zoom. You can switch also like the background. You can have a lot of plugins here that shows you content. Like for instance, in FrontCommerce, we have a custom plugin here that allows you to switch language. So it analyzes the strings that you have, the internationalized strings that you have, and it allows you to see if, like, you guys are German, so most of the time German language breaks all the UI. So, so yeah, this is for those use cases. Sorry, I don't speak German at all. Other questions? Yes?
Just to confirm, the e-commerce functionality, specific one, for example, checkout, this is provided by you, right? Or does it come from someone else?
Yes, right. I mean, for now, FrontCommerce has a core, a very small core. So if you remove almost everything and you just have the core, you have a naked graph. And then we have, for now, a Magento 2 module that covers most of the Magento 2 features. And then we also, like in the next few months, we will have the first Magento 1 stores and adapters. And we are also working with Molten and other ones. So that's our business, and our value will provide the base thing for lots of solutions. And then you can also develop your own thing. Like for the project that I showed with the calendars and things, we have our own checkout mechanism. Yeah, because there are a lot of custom logic.
What's the business model, like what are the tiers?
So for now we are still looking for feedback from people, but I don't know, it changed it last week. It's 15,000 euros for like. Well, anyway, we will continue afterwards. But basically, you have a one-time fee, and then you can have updates every year for 6,000 euros. And we do also some kind of support if needed, trainings and all that stuff. But yes.
Is it on premises then? Or?
It's really, you get the license to then do of.
Yeah.
however you want. It's like an open source software, but you just need to pay for that. So you get the code, it's unobfuscated, you can deploy wherever you want. And right now we are looking for partners that knows solutions, let's say Sprikers or I don't know, because I think that in the long run we don't want to be expert in each technology. We know Magento very well, WordPress also, but not all, that's impossible. And for instance, Magento 1 is developed by a partner, and they do the connector on Magento side. So yeah, we are also looking maybe for platform as a service solutions to deploy that, because that's a Node.js server, so that's very standard thing, but we don't want to we want to stay focused on just the product, because the front-end parts actually are becoming more and more complex. So I don't know if you guys know Gatsby. Okay, so you know it's very fast. And I will show you, if you haven't done, the link component in Gatsby. So it's just an HTML tag. Gatsby link. Perhaps it's not here. Okay. There is no link here. Oh, it's a whole library. Okay. So this is the Gatsby link code base that allows you to preload the next page very fast and do all that kind of optimization for you. And basically the front end is becoming that difficult if you want to achieve a high level of performance.
You want to demonstrate that?
Demonstrate what?
I have a good demonstration website for you to demonstrate how fast it is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, very nice. Okay, open a browser. You type devday.io, devday.io. Okay, very nice. So please don't mind that the SSR is not really working for me.
And here, see.
Click on.
Oh, that's been loaded there. So fast. And the same for images, the same for everything. Like, yeah, we also have that thing in FrontCommerce, is that the images are really optimized for the size where it's displayed and no for what has been uploaded in the backend. So, because images are what takes the most of. Yeah. I can even zoom in. Responsive.
Custom-made thing, basically.
Wow.
Thank you so much. This was a lot of code, I would say. Are you already very tired? Because what we would like to do, talk with you, we would like to give away some t-shirts. So even though I had 3 hours to think about how to do it, I did not come up with a good method. But what I would say is, Tom, is, what time is it? It's 10 o'clock. Should we call it a day? Yes, yes, okay, many people are knowing. Or do our speakers definitely persist on doing the panel discussion, because then we could do the panel discussion over Grimmisches Dorf, where there's beer, if you want so. I would say this was it for today. We're closing up here, so you can stay longer, a little bit longer if you want, and have another beer with us here. And then I would say, if you don't have anything to do, let's go to the Grimmisches Dorf, have another drink with us. Okay. If you want to talk to Tom. This is Tom. Thank you for coming. What could we improve, actually? If there's anything we could improve, and I guess there's a lot, tell us on Twitter, tell us on the Meetup, everywhere you want. If you took some pictures, please upload them on meetup.com or tweet them, or use social media channels. Follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. Our handle is coding_Berlin. The other one is some freelance. And if you by any chance in Stuttgart, Leipzig, Faro, Lissabon, Düsseldorf, or Porto? Yeah, Porto. You can also find us there, because we call it Coding in the City. Anything I forgot? Any questions? Now, maybe? No.
Next meetup.
There are lots of meetups out there.
Next Coding Berlin.
The next Coding Berlin meetup. This is what you always announce, but we don't have it. So the next conference I can recommend is the Dev Day, which is happening at Festa Kreuzberg. Yes, question.
There is also next week the Code Talks Commerce on Thursday and Friday.
I heard there is a brilliant speaker at Code Talks on Friday at 12.
No, Thursday
you.
at 5.
You're Thursday 5, I'm Friday 12. Okay, very nice. Go there, the tickets are cheap. It's 400 euros or something. 200, I don't know. That day is really cheap. If you remember I cannot remember. Do you remember the code that I showed?
Let there be code.
Let there be code. Okay, if you use this one, you get there for free. Carla, you wanted to tweet about your winnings, your prize, your whatever you call it. Yeah, you can do it. Thank you. I will try to share the live stream as soon as I can. Oh, there are also 98 people have played it, and don't know why. The audio was quite bad. Thank you so much for coming. We'll announce the next meetup soon. Is there any topic wish? Any special, like front end? We already had GraphQL and Kubernetes and everything. So blockchain, I can recommend blockchain. I use blockchain as a hashtag or anything like that. Anything? The first one wins. Topic? Test automation. And what's with Golang, Elixir, obscure programming languages? Okay, if you don't come up with anything besides test automation, it's your fault. Not yours. I will consider. Okay, very nice. Say goodbye to Tom, say goodbye to me if you're leaving, and